Okay, perfect. Okay, so we are going to talk about chapter 8. And before we get into the details of the different gatis, the different paths that our subtle body can take after death, which is one of the important features of chapter 8, let's talk about why do we travel in the first place? Like, why is it? What is going on? What does it mean to be reborn and all of those things? So, if you just take a step back, when we said in the beginning, you can think about the human being, the jiva, us, in three ways. At the very outside, the grossest level, there is what's called our physical body, right? That's what we see and feel. Then one level inside is what's called the sukshma sharir, which is the subtle body. And then further down, there is the Atma. And I'm simplifying, there's a fourth one also, which is Karana Sharir, but let's not bring that in right now, just for the sake of simplicity. It doesn't matter for our purposes whether we include it or not. So let's stick with three things. The physical body, the subtle body, which is nothing but our mind and the senses, and the pranas, and the Atma. So people who are not familiar with Vedanta, not familiar with the Indian culture, haven't been exposed to all that, most of them, they think when we identify ourselves with the physical body. Like if somebody asks you, when were you born? I'll say I was born on September 1 this year. And okay, or when did the other person die? We'll tell them this person died on this date. What we are automatically talking about is the physical body. It's the physical body which is born at a particular date and which dies at a particular date. We ask, how tall are you? You'll say, I'm 5'11", or whatever. It's your physical body, how heavy you are, how much do you weigh. So we have a complete identification with our physical body. When we identify with our physical body, then obviously the physical body is made of matter. It has to be born, it has to die. So we think we are born and we die. And we think that our lifespan is this 70, 80, 90, whatever number of years we get to live in this world. And that's it. Nothing exists before, nothing exists after. That's the time we have in our life. Now, Vedanta says, first and foremost, before we can talk about anything else, we have to start looking at ourselves differently. So you remember we said that we can say, I'm not the physical body, I'm the Atma. That's sort of the ultimate. Because the Atma has no form or body. It's never born, never dies. Let's not even go there yet. Vedanta starts by saying, identify yourself with the subtle body, not with the physical body. Now, the moment you start identifying yourself with the subtle body, your perspective completely changes. Because the subtle body, which is the mind and the senses and your pranas are the life forces. This is what the subtle body consists of. This does not die. It never dies. This subtle body has been continuing from infinite past. And it continues on well into the future, till such time that you achieve moksha, till such time that you get liberated. This will continue. But in order for this subtle body to experience what it needs to experience, it needs a physical body. So from time to time, it will take up new physical bodies. Then when it has finished what it needed with the physical body, the experiences are finished, it'll drop that physical body. Then it'll take another physical body. It'll drop that physical body. Then it'll take another physical body. That's the way, when you think about yourself as a subtle body, that's your path. Your timeline is suddenly very, very long. And you're not thinking about being born or dying. You're thinking about taking on a body and discarding that body and taking the next. And what Gita in chapter 8 talks about is the process of how this happens. How you discard one body and you take the next body. The journey from one body to the next is what's called a gati, the path. And Gita describes a couple of gatis, and Vedanta in general has many more. And that gati is dependent upon what you've done in life and what your karmas are. Okay? So that's the large context, but I want to spend a little bit more time on this because this is not all the change in perspective. The change in perspective is much deeper than this. So so far, are we okay so far? Paula, particularly you. I mean, this is not something totally okay. And the others also, right? You know about the subtle body. You know that the subtle body doesn't die; it continues on. And when, for example, when in Gita, Krishna Bhagavan says that you wear a new dress, your body is like a dress. You wear a new dress, you discard that dress, then you wear another dress. He is identifying, he's asking you to identify with the subtle body, not with the Atma, because the Atma never wears any dress at all. The Atma has no question of dresses and everything. The subtle body is the one which takes on the physical body. So the first change that I would suggest for you to make is, instead of thinking that the physical body, has a soul, that I, Dheeraj, this physical body, has a soul, and my soul resides in the physical body, you have to think, I, Dheeraj, the soul, has a physical body. So I, Dheeraj, the soul, has a physical body today. Tomorrow it will be a different physical body. Yesterday it was a different physical body. So first you got to start thinking like that. Right? That's one thing that we have to start thinking differently if we have to really follow Vedanta properly. The second thing, which is very different, is what is the purpose of all of this? Why are we going to do what is going on here? What's going on is that this subtle body that we call the mind and the physical body, the senses and all, is the agent for action and the agent for experience. In Sanskrit, it's the karta and the bhokta. That means, what is this life all about? This life is all about experiences. We do certain things. Those are our karmas. Those things bring results. And the law is that whatever you do, the consequences of that you will have to bear. If you do good things, you may be enjoying the consequences. You do bad things, you'll be suffering the consequences, but you have to do that. So what is it that experiences this sadness or pleasure when good or bad things are done? What experience is it? Not the physical body. The physical body has no experience. It's a dead thing. The physical body is not alive. There's no life there. It's just like cells and material. The thing that experiences is the subtle body, which is, it's not correct to say that it is alive, but it is more alive. It's got chitta bhasa. That's a different song. But for the time being, let's assume that it is alive. It has the ability, it has consciousness, it has the ability to experience. So it's the subtle body which is experiencing. The physical body is a means of experience. Just like if you want to do something, you need a tool. If you want to do some action, if you want to dig something, you need a shovel. Then you will use the shovel to dig the ground. You can't just dig the ground without the shovel. Or if you want to see something, you need eyes. You want to see the stars, you need a telescope. So these are instruments. The physical body is nothing but instrument. It is the instrument that collects the experience from the world around us and provides it to the subtle body. The experiencer is the subtle body. Similarly, the doer is the subtle body. The agent for doing that stuff is the physical body. So when I say I did this, I have to think about not my physical body. It's my subtle body which did this. I will suffer the consequences of my action, The subtle body will suffer the consequences of the action, not the physical body. Physical body is just being provided. The appropriate physical body is being provided so that I can appropriately do the things I need to do and suffer the things I need to suffer and enjoy the things I need to enjoy. So the whole concept of Vedanta, the whole concept of Gita is identify with the subtle body. Physical body is just a tool. This is very important to get. So, and remember, everything that you need for experience, everything that you need to experience anything is available in the subtle body. So you see what the subtle body consists of? It consists of your mind, which is where your consciousness resides, and your buddhi and your chitta, all of those things. It consists of your sense organs, the subtle sense organs, which actually sense things. It consists of the subtle organs of action with which you can do things. And it consists of the life forces, the pranas, which actually provide the energy to get those, to experience things and to do things. That infrastructure comes from the pranas. The electricity, you can say, or the energy comes from the pranas. So physics, subtle body has everything it needs, but it cannot interact directly with the world. In order to interact with the world, it needs a physical body. Okay. So far, so good. Sanjay, okay.
Yeah, fine.
Okay, so then one more thing that I will say, because this is all fine. And that is that now we talk about the law of karma. We talk about the law of karma from this perspective of the subtle body. So what's the law of karma? The law of karma is that you sow, as you sow, so shall you reap. That's the law of karma. So the way that the karma works is, we all, over many, many lifetimes, have accumulated a lot of karma. A lot of karma. You know what karma is, Paula? Karma is actions. So it's a sort of a record of the actions. So let's say I do an action, and every action I do gets recorded. In some subtle way, it gets recorded. We don't, somewhere deep inside our subtle body.
And
that
dharma
record,
is a good action.
Dharma is different. Dharma is basically, what it means is, every person, every body has some things which are intrinsic to its nature. That is called dharma. Whatever is intrinsic to my nature is my dharma. So you can say for a scorpion bites. The biting is intrinsic to the nature of a scorpion, so that is its dharma. For a human being, what is intrinsic to our nature is living in a society, being good to others, living in communal harmony. How do we know it's intrinsic to our nature? Because when we do that, we feel the most comfortable and we feel the most pleasure and the most peace. So that's our dharma. And when you do things which are not intrinsic to your nature, which are contrary to your nature, then you are in conflict with your nature. And that causes restlessness. So that is adharma, non-dharma. So the example I gave you for the scorpion is very interesting, because if I hit somebody and bite and poison somebody, let's say Sunil is standing there and I fight with him and I bite him and poison him, I'm doing something wrong. It's a dharma. It's not in my nature. But if a scorpion does the same thing, it's totally fine, because the scorpion's dharma is to bite. It's not doing it out of malice. That's what it is meant to do, right? So when everybody follows their dharma, the world proceeds as it needs to proceed.
So karma is only action. It's not bad or good.
Karma is only action, bad and good both. So bad and good both are karma. Dharma is a choice that we make. Our karma follows the dharma. In other words, my dharma tells me I need to do the right thing, be good. That's my dharma. So my actions will then be good actions. The dharma is a unique property of human beings. It's the human birth is supposed to be very special, and in the human birth, we have the ability to make these choices, good and bad choices. Because we have the ability to make these good and bad choices, we can also suffer the consequences of those choices. So the recording of the karma only happens in human birth. Like a dog, for instance, or a cat doesn't have the ability to make the choices between what is good and bad. They just do what comes instinctively to them. So if they do something which is harmful to others, if they kill somebody or they bite somebody, you can't hold it against them. They're doing what is in their nature, what is in their dharma.
Mhm.
A human being has the ability to follow his dharma or not follow the dharma. There is a little bit of freedom that human beings have. And we'll talk more about it later, but this freedom is the reason why human birth is special, and is the reason why through human birth we can reach liberation. We cannot reach liberation from other births. It's only from the human birth that we can reach moksha. Because we can make choices. Now, you and I, we are talking about all this. We are thinking about things. We are trying to decipher what is right and wrong. Some knowledge is being imparted. All this is going to help you make choices in your life. Those choices will determine the course of your life. That
Mhm.
ability, that's a very human ability. And if you choose that I want to be free, I want to be liberated, that's a choice you'll make. And therefore, you will be able to get liberated or moksha or whatever you want to call it, because you have the ability to make the choice. A cow or an elephant or any other animal cannot make the choice. They will just be living their life the way it is. So when we could be reborn as a cow, just to tell you, okay, that would be only to exhaust some karmas, not to generate new karmas. Because as a cow, I don't have the free will. If I don't have free will, I can't register new karma. Free will is important because only through free will you can choose what you are doing. And with
Mhm.
that choice, your karmas get registered. If you don't have a choice, then there's nothing. You can't commit a sin and you can't commit, something good, because you don't have a choice. The choice comes through discretion, which is a very human property. Anyway, so I mean, this will become more and more clear as we go along, Paula.
Okay.
This is kind of the first time. This is the first time you're hearing this, and I'm sure you have lots of questions. Well, when we'll in any case we'll keep meeting separately also, like we did earlier, and then we can go through all of this in more detail.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. No, it's fine. So where I was going with that was that we've all done things in our past lives and in this life, and all those karmas are recorded somewhere within us. They're recorded, actually, they're available in the third body that I was telling you about, the karana sharira, the causal body, which we didn't talk about. That's where the karmas are housed. But these karmas are, they have to be exhausted. The consequence of these karmas has to be uh, faced. And like I said, if you think about ourselves as a subtle body, then our lifespan is very long. So the karmas that we do, they don't have to all be answered, or their effect doesn't have to be manifested in this one lifetime with this physical body. They can be manifested over time. So think about the subtle body, which has been there for ages. It has accumulated a lot of karmas, all put together. At any given time, some of those karmas are removed from that whole big bunch, and those are meant to be exhausted in the next physical body, the next lifetime. So I'm going to be a little technical. This whole big bunch of karmas, the full set, the universal set of karmas that you have, I have, everybody has. Let's say your universal set of karmas. Let's say Paula. Your universal set of karmas from long time ago to now is called sanchita karma. Sanchita. Okay, just remember that. S, sanchita karma. That's the universal set that you have. That's the whole sum total of your karmas.
Mm-hmm.
There are many, many of those. Now, let's say it's time for you to start the next life, physical body. Some of those karmas will be removed from that big set. And that set, a small set, is called prarabdha karma, P. S is the big set, P is the small set which is removed. And the idea is that these P karmas will be exhausted in your next birth. Now, these P karmas require, for the karmas to be exhausted, that means for their effect to be realized, it requires a particular kind of body. So Swami Dayanand, who's my teacher, he says, if you have been greedy and the impact is that you have to eat a lot, let's say, if you, he's kidding. If let's say that your prarabdha karmas determine that you have to spend your lifetime eating a lot, then you will be given the body of a pig. Okay, that's just an example. It's not, it's not that, it's not that because there's a body of the pig, therefore the pig will eat. No, it's because the karmas require a lot of eating, that person is given the body of the pig. It's the other way around. That's what I
Does
want to.
the birth,
Sorry?
the location of the birth, each country you're gonna be birth?
Yeah, so all that is part and parcel of your prarabdha. So
Okay.
where you will be born, who your parents will be, what form your body will take, when exactly you will be born and when you will die. It's all part of prarabdha. And basically the prarabdha, like the P karmas, the small subset of karmas, let's say you have 1,000,000 karmas in your universal set and 100 are chosen for this lifetime, then those 100 will require a particular sort of body. You will be given that body. And when you have finished those 100 karmas, it's exhausted. That's the end of this physical body. Then this physical body will go away. You're basically, in other words, died. You're dead. And then you go back to that big set of 1,000,000, take out the next 100 for your next birth. And oh, by the way, that million doesn't still remain 1,000,000. That may become even bigger because during this time when you were on the earth, finishing your 100 karmas, you also made new karmas. So they get added too. So it's like it's a never-ending cycle, basically. Basically, you can never exhaust your karmas. That's essentially what what the philosophy says. Okay. And I'm just giving you a very rough overview. There's more to it. If you're interested, we can talk more. But the point that I was trying to make, the main thing here is, I think the orientation that we all have is, here's my body. And with this body, physical body, I have 70, 80 years, I don't know how many. I want to do something and I will do this and then I'm done. It's the orientation of Vedanta is a little different. The orientation of Vedanta is that you are a subtle body, a soul, if you want to call that. You have accumulated a lifetime of experiences over many lifetimes. Those lifetimes of experiences need to be fructified. You have to get the results of those experiences. And every lifetime, you are provided with a physical body, which is the most suitable body for those set of experiences that you are given to exhaust. Then when you exhaust those experiences, you move on to the next set. Then you move on to the next set. So if you think about yourself as the subtle body, then this birth and this life and this world that you see is all just today's circumstance. It's one station in your long journey. You're going from Sao Paulo to Moringa on a double-decker bus, and you have multiple stations on the way. This is just one station. And then there is a journey between one station and the next. That's how you need to think about it. I can see, Paula, you're like, "Wait, what is this?" Like totally, this is totally crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Yes. I saw a lot of very sudden different ways of thinking. But I felt like that too. But then slowly you become comfortable with it. Slowly you begin to realize that it makes sense. And even if the details are not important, the accuracy of the details, what it gives you is a sense for um you start living this life differently when you have this approach. The thing is, I mean, this is just my opinion. We are constrained by our means of knowledge, by what is available to us as our means of knowledge. So our means of knowledge is our sense organs and our mind. We only know what we can see in front of us. We only know what we can hear in front of us. If we are going to think about it like that, then all we will see is this physical body, which was born and which will die. What Vedanta is asking you to do is to think beyond just what you can see, what you can hear, and everything. Think beyond that. And not that you think beyond it without using your head or without using your faculty of reason, but it's giving you some ideas which will start making you think a little differently. Once you start admitting that it's possible for things to exist which you cannot necessarily see or hear or touch and feel, then it opens up vistas for you in terms of how you think about things. Okay. Sanjay Mukta,
हाँ जी, fine.
are you with me?
Yeah.
Or have I lost everybody? Not just Paula.
We are all around.
So Paula, this is you're getting sort of a real taste of the traditional Indian Hindu way of looking at things. This is how, for you, this is probably very new, very difficult to believe. For a lot of Indians, yeah, go ahead.
Here in Brazil,
Yeah,
most of the people are Christian,
yeah,
but there's a lot of people who is spirits. So they
it's
believe that after we die, we go to another plan. That there's a lot of people that's already dead too, and then you make plans for your next reincarnation based
yeah.
on the people you hurt and whatever. So if you hurt someone, probably you're gonna to be born as his son or his brother or whatever to learn to love that person.
Oh, interesting. Nice.
Mhm. It's come from Allan Kardec. I think he was a French or English
Oh,
guy. I
okay.
don't remember.
Yeah, I mean, even for Christians, they don't say that this body is all there is. They say there is a soul which goes to heaven or hell, right? They say that
Actually,
there's a God. Yeah,
in Catholic, they
yeah,
believe that once the body dies,
yeah.
it will be like in a sleep state until Christ return and your soul get judged, and then you go to heaven or hell. But just when Christ return.
Right, but when Christ returns, you will not be in
All
your
the
body
dead
because
is going to be rising.
all the dead will be
People
rising.
will be living.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
And
I
then
see.
will be a big judgment.
Okay, for everybody together.
So you go
I
to
see.
hell or heaven.
Okay. Yeah. So what I was trying to say was that you can take any religion. They always admit to a source of knowledge which is outside our perception. They all say that there is something beyond what we see and hear and touch and feel. All this thing that Christ will return, we can't believe it because there's no evidence for it, there's no data. There's just somebody has said this and we have to take their word for it. So I'm saying it's true everywhere. Even in the Hindu religion, it's the same thing. Somebody has told us that there is this multiple lifetimes. You start from many lives ago, and now after you die, you'll have more life. There is no data. We are taking the word of something or somebody who's telling us this. In our case, it's not somebody as such. It's the whole book called the Vedas. It's a sort of a like our Bible is called the Veda. So the Vedas are telling us this. So we are believing in them. But at the heart of it, when we are talking about these things, we have no choice but to consider things that we cannot see, that we cannot hear, that we cannot touch, because we will be forced to examine those things. So if I tell you all this, that there is a soul, your subtle body which travels and it accumulates all these karmas, and it gets born based on the karmas that need to be exhausted. There is no proof for any of this because none of this is visible. You can't see it, you can't touch it. There's no record of it. However, it is something which some revered book or revered person has said, somebody that you trust, and therefore you want to give it a try and see maybe there is some truth in it.
Eu já vou. Só um minutinho. Eu já vou, Gabriel.
Atul, you need to go?
Só um minutinho. Just a minute.
Yeah,
Gabriel,
it's okay.
Hey, but one
I'm
thing is
sorry.
there, because we are talking about Vedas. Now, Vedas, when they were written and everything, it was based on experience of all those rishis. They got that knowledge and that experience from somewhere. They rose to that level to get that experience, and then later on it was penned down.
Right.
Right. And then we
Right.
have to believe in their experiences and whatever they are saying. And if we really try to test all those things, you will come to the core truth and be convinced about it.
Right. So I'm saying there is no, and that is exactly correct. We have to see what we can be convinced about. Not everything. I can't argue with that. Yeah, that's true. So till such time that you are convinced about it, you have to go by faith. Your faith in these rishis, your faith in the Vedas, which
we have to go by faith, because we are not able to reach to that level to experience
Yes.
all these things.
Yeah.
Either we reach that level or we believe in whatever it is written.
Exactly. Or we believe based on faith.
Yeah.
We believe, right? And it's easier for us in India to have that faith because
that's an easy way out. That's an easy way out for us.
Our parents have the faith. Everything around us, we have the faith. We have been exposed to this from the childhood. So this is something which is not completely crazy for us.
Yeah.
And deep inside, that seed has been sown. So somewhere deep inside, without any other, without giving any reason or whatever, we believe these things now because we've been exposed to them. But I was just thinking for Paula, may not be the case because she has not been exposed since childhood to these thoughts. So for her, this would be something new and crazy, you know? What is all this crazy stuff about being born again and this and that, right?
No,
So
I think that because in Brazil has a lot of
yeah,
spiritism, you know,
yeah,
it's a little more. It's not too complicated.
not to go. Okay.
No, because they have that idea. If you do for some, you know, that's
So
called
in
spiritism. Actually, it's very popular here in Brazil. A lot
okay,
of cities has a lot of centers of it that they
nice.
believe in, like a life after death, you know. But we go to a colony after we die, like a hospital, and then go like a school or something like that,
Mhm.
and then you come back to try to fix the bad things you did in the past.
So I think the point that I was trying to make here is that
Mhm.
regardless of what path you take, whether you go to a colony or whatever, the
Mhm.
thing that is going when you say I go or we go, it's not our physical body that's going, right? Because the physical
No.
body is buried somewhere. So
Yeah.
the entity that is making that travel, which is going somewhere, whether to be reborn in your friends in some enemy's house or going to a school, that entity is the subtle body. You
Mhm.
can call it the soul. Some religions will call it the soul, some religions will call it the spirit. In Vedanta, we call it the subtle body.
Mhm.
But that entity, nobody has seen. You have never seen a soul, right? You've only
No.
seen, right. But but you experienced the soul. And if we open our eyes to our own experience, we'll see we have experienced it. Because you tell me you can see things around you. There is something which is seeing everything around you, which is hearing everything, which is experiencing everything, which is feeling everything. There is some entity which you call Paula, which is doing all these things. What is that entity? It is a very subtle entity, but it's not the body. It's not the brain. There is a distinct feeling of myself. There's an identity. That is what is soul. That is what is the subtle body. Now, you can say, no, that is just a figment of my imagination. It's just an
Mhm.
emergent property. It's an emergent property of my physical body. It's the way the neurons in my brain are interacting with each other and giving this feeling that there is a person or there's an entity. That is a choice you'll have to make at some stage to say, what of these two options makes more sense to me? Does it make more sense to me to think that all there is this brain and physical body and it's somehow giving this impression? Or does it make more sense to me to realize that there is something which is uniquely me, which is seeing, believing, hearing, all of that? And if you choose the latter, then you're stepped into the world of Vedanta. Because the world of Vedanta says that there is something called the subtle body. In fact, as we go along, what Vedanta says is that the existence of the physical body is rather doubtful. You know, we may or may not, we may be open to the possibility that there really is no physical body. It's just a assumption or something that our mind has conjured up. We've just assumed that there is a physical body, but the subtle body, very much so. It's there. You see what I'm saying? The consciousness is there. So anyway, I don't want to do that, but that's the choice. At some stage, we all have to decide: what do we really believe? Do we really believe that all there is in this world is matter, or do we really believe that there is something more? And if you believe there is something more, then then Vedanta will open the door for you to study more, to understand more. Sunil, you wanted to add something?
I think I'm just enjoying the session. I think all the points of view, that are coming across. I wanted to say that, actually, when Paula was saying about this school of thought where in Brazil, people have this concept of the spirit, obviously leaving the physical body you've been describing, and then, going into a colony and, meeting people. And if you've done a lot of good to someone, you get that in return in your next birth. Or if you've done otherwise, if you've harmed someone, then obviously that comes back to you in the cycle of karma, like you said, that you shall reap as you sow. And even what Sanjay was saying, I think that is very relevant, that we may not have, see, all this philosophy or knowledge cannot be understood in the light of empirical evidence. But what Sanjay brought out was a very pertinent point, that all those Vedas or all that knowledge that has been documented, or even if it is by word of mouth, which got transformed into Vedas, came from some experience of those exalted souls or those rishis or those Siddh Purush, or people, who experienced those things, who actually went into a realization of having probably seen some of their past births and also probably having seen their future. So that is where the whole concept of, like you said, that, we are not sure. But I think if Krishna says so in Gita, we are pretty much
believe
there.
it. Yeah, we believe it.
Sure. So that's it. That's it.
Yeah. At some stage, there is, you have to believe, you have to have somewhere faith it comes down to faith at some point. You can use your reason, and reason is there for a purpose. You can use your logic. You can parse things as much as possible, try to fine-tune them, but at some point, you can't avoid a little bit of faith. But the good news is it's a choice. Any thinking person is free to make a choice. What is it that I'm more comfortable with? What do I really believe? What makes more sense to me based on my experiences, based on everything that I'm seeing? What approach makes sense? And if it makes sense to you that there is more than what meets the eye, great. And if it doesn't, that's fine too. Mukta? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm good.
Any thoughts? Anything you want to add?
In fact, what Paula was talking about, what they think in reincarnation, and I think it is somewhere you are reborn for the birth with brothers, or as a brother or something. It's something similar to the karma theory only.
Absolutely. I was saying it's very similar to what we are talking about. So she was like almost there. It's very close to what. The only one point that I would wish to add is that, Dheeraj, we've been talking about this. To translate this faith into actual experience, individual experience, you need a guru. So till such time you find one, you have faith in your faith and in the faith of others, or in the faith that has, transcended down zillions of years. But eventually that faith must meet experience. That should be our quest.
Yeah.
Usme, I think, Sunil, we have to it's necessary to build a bond between experience and faith. If you experience something and look at the angle of the faith to the results and everything, then your faith grows and you have a different style of experience. You have an experience in a different plane. You see? Did you get my point?
No, absolutely.
If you link faith with your experience, then the quality of experience, the nature of experience, and the growth of faith, they really have a really nice bonding.
Actually, what you're saying, Sanjay, what it reminds me is, in the Kena Upanishad, there is a very interesting statement to that effect. I mean, I think that's what you're saying. What it's saying is that when you know with knowledge, you're not going to experience anything different. You'll experience the same world.
Yeah.
But you will see it with different eyes.
Yes.
You will, for example, right now, just as an example, when we look at the world around us, we are completely oblivious of the looker, of the person who is seeing. We never think about it. We only are focused 100% on the object that we are seeing, right? Once you start thinking and contemplating that there is a subtle body who's a seer, that there is a you, which is actually experiencing this, which is seeing this. When you start looking at the world, you'll begin to notice both. You'll pay more, you'll suddenly start paying more attention to the seer. That there is an entity which is seeing, like, how is all this being visible to me? Like, what? That experience becomes different. And that's where you could say your experience is meeting faith. In other words, your faith, which is orienting you in a different direction, now makes you see things differently.
Yes.
And your experience then starts matching up with your faith. Till you have the faith, till you have the knowledge, you will not see anything differently. You will see what you've always seen. Right? So that is, I'm just giving you one example. There are many such examples all over Vedanta.
This is what I was telling, that you have to create a bond between faith and experience and try to see things differently so that your faith is also increasing, your experience is also increasing, and the nature of experience is going to a different level.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No, I think that's very good observation.
Yeah.
So back to the 8th chapter now, and we will get into detail in the next session because it's already pretty late.
Yeah.
But just to kind of set it up. So Krishna Bhagwan in the 8th chapter, and this is not, he describes the gati. He calls it the gati. But essentially, what he's, and I'm going to go a little deeper than what is in the Gita, because I'm going to talk about Brahma Sutra and Vedanta, because Gita summarizes what Vedanta says. Gita has only like 3 or 4 mantras on this. But in Vedanta, Gita is basically taking extracts from different Upanishads. But if you look at the Chandogya Upanishad, it has a much more detailed explanation of all of this journey. And Gita just takes a little from there and summarizes it. That's why it's important, like Sunil said, to have someone to explain it to you, because otherwise you won't get the context. So what Chandogya Upanishad and Gita basically are saying is that they're describing a journey that takes place. That you're inside, with you is the subtle body. That subtle body collapses. If you notice, Sanjay, last time we were talking about this, when people die, what happens is that they stop, the senses, little by little, the senses stop their function. You find you're too weak, you can't see anymore. You can't hear anymore. Or maybe you can see, but you can't hear anymore. Your mind is working. Your mind is still formulating thoughts. Maybe you want to say something, but you are unable to say. because your indriya, your sense organs, do not have the energy anymore. They're basically, in other words, the subtle body, which provides the driving impulse, the energy to the physical body, is withdrawing from the physical body. So it's withdrawing into the heart. The house, the home of the subtle body is called the hridayam, the hriday. So it's withdrawing, little by little, it's withdrawing into the hriday. So there is a process by which you basically die. You're just, suddenly you find your sense organs are gone. They're folding into themselves. Then your manas goes, you stop, you can't even think anymore. And then your pranas go. And that's the final detachment. So one gati happens from the hriday, which is kind of close to your heart, to one of the pores of your body. So you have a talu, which is a pore on the head. You have other holes in the body. Depending upon what you have done and the actions you've taken, you will have an internal journey of this little jiva, internal journey to one of those pores. That's the journey, phase 1, which is internal journey. If you've done really good upasana, you've done great things, and you've, thought about, done all the rituals in the upasana, which I mentioned, you will go from your head. Essentially, that's what they say. So that's the internal journey. And then from that pore to multiple lokas is the external journey. And that in Gita, they describe 2. They describe the Shukla Gati and they describe the Krishna Gati. Shukla Gati is the white journey, the white path, and Krishna Gati is the dark path, the bright path and the dark path. So we can talk, you can go into a lot of detail, and actually I don't know whether it is worth it, but at least we can talk about the basics of what Gita says if you want to go through the Shukla Gati, because Shukla Gati is the one that leads to Brahmaloka. Essentially, it's saying, if you want that kind of a reward, there are certain things you have to do in terms of karmas and upasana. And it describes what they are. So maybe we can just talk about those next time and leave it at that. Based on, if you have more interest, we can talk more. But it's a very technical part, but it's an interesting part because everybody is interested in understanding what is Gita saying about what happens to me after my death. We all are curious. So whether we believe it or not, we are curious. We are curious to know, at least at this point. Make sense? Anything else before? I don't know how you guys do it at 9:30 to 10:30 every second Saturday. You're superhumans. So this time I'm in India, so I'm kind of
You know how difficult it is?
I know you're doing sadhana and
work till 9, then have come back, rush for your dinner, change and sit down for the class. Very, very tough for me. But
this is true tapasya.
तपस्या तपस्या करेंगे तो कुछ मिलेगा ना भाई.
बिल्कुल ठीक है. Sunil, any parting remarks?
No, Dheeraj, it was good catching up with all of you.
Yeah. We're so glad you could make it. Yeah, it's it was a very pleasant surprise that you could join.
It had actually been such a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, but you had already warned us. You told us that you're going to be very busy, so we knew it. Hopefully we will see more of you.
How's your mother, Neeraj?
She's better now. She's on the way to recovery. So she's walking. Now it's all physical therapy. That is the main thing. Physical therapy, walking, exercises. She's okay. Okay, everybody stay well, stay safe, healthy, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay. And Paula, I'll reach out to you and we'll see if we can meet separately, and I can kind of bring you up to speed a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Good night.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, guys.